morning. What we're going to do is show you how to mull a standard single hung twin window from Synergy Windows and Doors. This particular one will be a 4030 high. So what first you need, you're going to need a tube of silicone gun, a couple of clamps, a utility knife, a pair of cutters. You can use one drill, but if you've got to, use it. In this particular case, we have a 5/32 bit and we have a drill driver bit.
With a number 2 Phillips.
With a number 2 Phillips. And included in your mull kit, you should have got a couple of pieces of window tape, flashing tape, a handful of screws. These particular screws are number 10s. They are 1.5 inches long. Just provide, which is why you'll need to have a 5/32 inch drill bit. And you will be provided with a mull and a piece of aluminum. And in this particular case, we're also going to use a piece of wood. This is what goes on the bottom of a window. You can choose to or not put it on depending on if you are going to leave it or move it, etc. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to take the sash out. Sash opens up, tilts out, side to side motion, and you can set it aside. Same thing with the other one, side to side. Came out easily. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut part of the nail fin off, part we're going to mull. What we like to do here is turn them side to side so you don't cut the wrong one off. So I'll turn the right one this direction and the left in this one direction. You want to take a utility knife and you can rest it upon the edge. It's about a 15-degree angle, and you're just going to slightly score it. If you use a nice sharp knife, you should have no problem breaking this off. Make sure nobody's on either side of you when you're doing this for safety matter. And then you're simply going to bend it over one direction, and it doesn't take a lot of force. And you're going to snap it back, slide it, pop it off. Now, if you notice any excess weld on the corner, you can take a pair of cutters or a utility knife if that's all you have with you. You're going to just trim a little bit off because you don't want the mull to be impeded by any excessive weld. This is not much here, but we're going to do it anyway so that it's nice and smooth and it will mull together correctly. Do is we're going to put the mull together. Now, in most cases, this is already going to be slid in, the reinforcement. This is to hold the unit together and to give it structural rigidity. So we're going to put a piece of aluminum reinforcement. It's milled out to fit right down the channel. It is 1.5 inches shorter, so where that's notched out, it should fit flush on either side. And you want to make sure it's flush on either side. Now, what you will do is take the silicone. This particular brand has an opening already in it, and you want to run a continuous bead of silicone.
That bead's about 1/8 of an inch.
And you don't have to go crazy with it. It's actually good to have a small amount because it doesn't seep out so much and it will still adhere. Remember, you're only as strong as the points you're meeting together with. So extra silicone just means extra mess. And that's that. Okay, now what we've done is we've put the silicone on the mull, we've cut off the interior fins, and now we're going to put it together. So if you look from the side panel or the side view, this frame is going to go inside that groove and the silicone will adhere. Now, I'm doing this by myself, and in most cases it does help to have a partner. What you do is you match the bottom of the mold. Now what you want to do is make sure that the bottom of your mold matches as closely as possible the bottom of the frame so that it's nice and flush. And I'm going to use these compression clamps. I'm going to squeeze them together to where that's snug. Then I will go to the other side and do the same thing. And since this is a very short window, it just snaps right in. The taller the window, you might have to wiggle it a little bit, but just ensure before you put your screws in that you're matched up here on that end and you're matched up on that end. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to put our screws in. Now, in a short window like this, you're typically going to put a couple down at the base and the bottom, coming from the base up and the bottom. And in this case, because this is very small, we're going to stagger a couple of screws here around where the meeting rail is. But in order to get those in, even though these are self-tapping screws, we're going to pre-drill. In this case, we have an impact drill. I'm going to use my finger, and I'm just going to go about half a hand's width. And we're going to shoot for the center. You want to stop slightly before you go all the way in. And this is the tricky part. This is a pretty powerful drill, but you want to slightly dimple the screw. This is that 1.5 screw. If you go too far, you'll blow through, but even if you do, you can always go right above if need be, and we can cover that with caulking.
Okay.
When you're doing this in the field, you're going to put it on a flat surface. The best thing you can do is if you have any lumber sitting around, you can set it underneath so you don't damage the frame itself. Now, because I'm not 6'6", I have a hard time reaching over. So in the field, or in the plant I should say, we set it upright and then we'll put a screw here and here to tighten it up. In your case, you can just step right over and just put the screws in while it's laying flush. Dimple the screws is so that the balance track will go back and forth. If for some reason when you go to put the sashes back in and you're sliding it up and down and you're catching, it means that one of these screws, the heads, is sticking out too much. If that's the case, just take your drill and slightly notch it back in. And that'll only be the case down at the bottom where the sash below the knee rail. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to fill the cavity here where the bottom of the maul is. We're going to do that on both sides.
This is the bottom of the window.
So we're going to take silicone, and most cases we have 2 silicone guns open here in the plant. This one I haven't notched any off. It just makes it a little easier to fill the opening up. You do this so that water doesn't leak in or out. It doesn't come up from the bottom, and it doesn't, if God forbid there's any leakage around, we don't want that getting in the track and damaging the customer's home.
And you're going all the way to the aluminum?
Mm-hmm. So now I'm going to take my flashing tape, and I can do it with my hands, but if you feel the need, a simple spatula like you use to apply tape and bed will work. So you want to start up at the top, just make it nice and clean, and you just want to walk it down and then just crease it on the nail fin and just roll it over, and just kind of work it side to side, side to side, side to side, side to side, until you get it to where there's pretty much no gaps. This is where you might need the spatula. It is kind of handy to get it on this little ledge, but as long as you're completely covered, don't worry if you have a slight little bubble, because mind you, there is a ton of silicone in there, and that just helps. On this particular tape, it does leave a slight little gap here. Simply apply a little extra silicone right there. You can just use your thumb, or in case you have a little spatula. This should never, if it's applied properly and it's molded incorrectly, should never be an issue. This is more like just in case. Okay, so this is the top, and I am definitely going to make sure that I got plenty of silicone down in here. And you don't have to put a gallon of this in there. You just want to cover all your penetration points between where the mole and the frame meet. Just want to get it in there as deeply as you can. And we'll do the same thing after applying the tape. We'll put a little extra on there. And this is a little more difficult when it's laying flat, because you have to kind of get on the floor and do it. Now, if you feel the need after you do the bottom, you can always turn it upright. And as it's up, you can apply it that way if it makes it easier for you. So when I'm done, I'm going to fill that with extra silicone up at the top, smooth it out, and you should be good. Make sure it doesn't exceed over the edge so it doesn't turn into an issue for the bed painter. One thing I did forget at the beginning is we have these balance covers. And really this isn't a balance cover so much as it is to cover the screws. And this goes in very simply. It's got a groove and a snap in. You just move it into the side, and it's compression, so you're gonna curl your fingers in and just snap it, and you can roll your finger down. And it just gives it a better aesthetic. You don't have to worry about the bottom because the sash will hide that. And just go into the top. Now, we just take our sashes, and this will prove whether or not we got the screws in all the way. But we need to suck them down some more, lack of a better term. That catches. Now I'm not catching anything there. Mind you, this is very light window, so it's trying to move with me. So we're good. But if for some instance I did not get the sash to move up and down like it should, that would mean I would need to turn the screws in a little more. And that is how you mold a single home window for Synergy Windows and Doors.